It is Sunday, which means it's time for a quick run through of my Cursed Realm and my Nightmare Corridor teams. Thank you guys, those of you who tuned into the live stream yesterday, even though it was pretty scuffed. For those of you who didn't tune in, I did some Awakened Summon, and I summoned Awakened Lucius, and I summoned Gavious, and I also summoned Calthin. So you could go check that out if you want to. I got some pretty good rates, but let's get into what you're actually here for. The teams. Now, for this week of the Nightmare Corridor, I refuse to do anything more. Like this Baden round, yeah, I'm not gonna test anymore. It just is what it is. So let's just run through the teams real quick. So for the first team here is the Seal team. It's an RD team. It can hit down to 19 seconds, but for whatever reason this time around it just did not work. Here are the collections, but yeah. I mean, it's RNG. I'm not willing to spend any more diamonds. Second up, it's the Awakened Baden team. Things you can do in here is you can slot in Gavious over her. You can slot in, what is he called? You can slot in Hodgkin, and you can also slot in Shuna, the new dimensional hero, if you pop through trial. But for me, I'm just doing the Vanthi because I use Gavious elsewhere, I believe. Next up, we have the Athalia team. In here, it's the same as always. Right here are the collections, things you can do. You can run the Orthos variant if you can get that to work. For me, it doesn't really work. The main thing you want to make sure is that Athalia is stronger than Palmer. The way I fix this is, as you can see here, I've maxed my warrior tree and I've left my support tree a bit behind, making sure that Ivan ults Athalia, and thus, that's what makes this round work. Next up, we have the Vika round. Now for the Vika round, there are a bunch of different formations, but if you're using a variant with both Liberta and Vika, one thing you want to make sure is that Vika has the lowest health. So as you can see here, once Liberta is going to ult, he's going to link the boss and Vika, like so, right? So this link is important. Make sure that Vika has the lowest health. The only real contestant is Lawson, so just do like me, throw on a lot of health on Lawson, and you're good to go. Next up, this is the Leica round. Now, the Leica round is significantly worse this time around. I've tested out a few things. I couldn't really get it to work, even with a Mega Merc Leica, right? Mainly because the last round here is pulling some supports, which could be fixed by doing the Baden round in here, but doing the Baden round in here means that I can't use a Leica Merc in here, and my own Leica doesn't really work for this round. So here are the collections. Nothing much of note in here. And the reason we're not using a Jerome in here, which would be the usual stable, is because we're using Jerome in here. And now, as you can see here, I'm making, obviously, SP on Belinda, and I'm using Jerome. One thing you can do, you don't need to use Belinda. Scarlet works just as well. Obviously, Rosaline follows Belinda or Scarlet, whichever you choose to use. And here are the collections. Nothing much of note in here. Those are my teams. I just couldn't really be asked doing much more for the Nightmare Corridor this week. But we can head over to the Cursed Realm. Now, as you might be able to notice, usually in the Cursed Realm I'm at around 20%, but now I'm around 12%. So what happened? Well, I summoned Lucius, which actually in theory doesn't really matter for this round, because this round isn't a Baden round. But yeah, I'm able to use my own Lucius. So I summoned Lucius yesterday, and I took him to a 30960, obviously, and then I wanted to test my way up, and I found that adding, so as you can see here now, I've taken him to the plus 40 signature item. I found that adding 5 levels, taking him to plus 35, added a little bit of damage, but plus 40 added around like 2 billion damage into this team on average, I would say. So yeah, his plus 40, I deemed it worth it, but that's also because I have a lot of chests lying around, so I could splurge on this guy. But yeah, you can lose Lucius in here. Also, if you don't have Lucius, you can use Baden in here, but he is much worse than Lucius. So next up, we have the Belinda round. There are some RNGs of this team, but it's actually like fairly stable. Obviously, these are the collections, and you want to make sure you have the SP effect on Belinda, and you want to make sure that you note that this is an RNG round. So retries are required to hit the high highs. Next up here is the Sophia team. Now, this is a bit different from the Sophia team I usually use, because I'm using this new hero, the new Mauler chick in here. Previously, I was using a Jerome over him, or over her, to a similar amount of damage, I would say, but she was able to RNG up to 10 billion damage. So I just thought that I would take the, she's less stable but has more high end. So that's why I picked her and ran with her. But yeah, here are the collections, nothing much of a note in here. Next up, yeah, this is the Sophia Astar team, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's not a super good team, right? You use the ice pad to keep the team alive, and basically you're just stalling out and hoping for just a little bit of damage, which, to be fair, this team did 9 billion damage, and that's pretty good. What's also pretty good is the Seal team. Now, obviously, I merked Shuna for this round because I already had Lucius and I had all the carry units needed, so I wanted to try testing out with Shuna. So I merked Shuna for this round, for the Seal round, but I will show you guys some different variations without Shuna, because obviously free-to-play players, most people don't have her, or people haven't popped their trials or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to try her out in the Seal team, so that is what I did. I also popped my Antandra trial, but I couldn't find a variation of the Antandra Seal team that worked the best for me. So this is yeah, this is a good Seal team. I'll show you guys some different Seal teams after that, and here are the collections. Last but not least, this is the only round where you actually have to turn on the old brain, because you need to make sure a few things happens before this round truly works. The main thing is you need to make sure that Desira has the lowest HP, so that she tanks, or so that Liberta links her. So when we play the fight, you should be able to see it here. So once Liberta ults, if we can get him to ult, there we go, he should link Desira, right? And if that happens, the team works, basically, and that's how you hit the 27 or above billion damage. And it's actually fairly stable in my experience. So I wanted to show you guys some different Seal teams. So if we go back here, we can see, well, here's the Jerome version, right? So if you don't have the new Mauler-Chick, you can just use this one with the Panda, and it's, you know, it's a similar damage. And here's a different Seal team, right? Here we're using the new Mauler. No, she's not a Mauler. She's the what should I call it? She's the Draconator, right? And you can use her over Shuna. Another thing you can do, I believe, right? You can try to use the leaderboard one, but I guess that one does use Shuna. And I believe I ran that a few times. Here I tried and failed the Antandra trial version. It definitely didn't work out for me. But yeah, basically you just throw in Brutus, some dimensionals, and I guess the cheapest version of the team is this one. So yeah, and again, 11 billion damage is pretty good for the Seal team. So yeah, a short video, sorry guys, but yeah, I gotta get going. So that's it for me this week. I'll see you guys next Sunday, right?